The next vitamin we shall be talking about is vitamin D. Now, vitamin D comes in different forms. There is vitamin D2, which is the inactive form of the vitamin. This is known as calciferol. This is often found in plants. There's also vitamin D3, which is cholecalciferol, which is either consumed in milk or formed under a sun-exposed skin. So in the US, we usually don't have a lot of sunlight during the winter time compared to the summertime, so we are not exposed to a lot of sun. So if most people that live in this climate, we need this form of supplement of vitamin D, because they're not getting sun-exposed skin as much as patients that live more in a climate where they have more sun, which means their skin is producing a lot of vitamin D, which is used there by their body. So, hey, oh, I see you taking a lot of notes while you're watching my YouTube video. I hope you're enjoying it, but there's only one problem. First, you've been watching all my lecture video content for free, but only 52% of people who are actually watching my YouTube channel have actually subscribed. Now, the other 48%, you might be one of them, but I'm not sure, so I'm not gonna judge. But can you do me just one favor? My goal in this channel is to bring you more content every single time so that you can have access to free quality education. However, in order for my videos to help millions of people around the world, I just need a favor. Can you help me get the number of that 48%? We can get it down so that we can get more subscribers to this channel so we can help millions of people around the world. So do me a favor, smash that like, subscribe button and share my videos to your friends and comment below, all right? I really, really appreciate you. And just because you have decided to do that, I promise you I'll make more videos. Thank you. You rock, you're awesome. All right. Do me a favor, just smash that like and subscribe, and then also share my video to the rest of the world. I appreciate you so much for helping me grow my channel. God bless you. Have a good one. All right. Okay. Now, you can go back to taking your notes inside my lecture because the rest of this lecture is going to be amazing. So you don't want to miss it. Let's continue. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot. Yes, what I told you, you haven't done it yet. I can tell. Just smash the like and subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. You rock. There's also a storage form of vitamin D, which we shall be talking about in the vitamin D pathway. And there is the active form of vitamin D that's actually doing the job of vitamin D itself. So what is the function of vitamin D? Well, the function of vitamin D is to increase intestinal calcium, okay, intestinal absorption of calcium and phosphate. Intestinal absorption of calcium, phosphate, and increase bone resorption. Now, in order to understand the physiology behind how vitamin D works, let's talk about how vitamin D is being made. Well, this is a sun-exposed skin pathway. It's a patient that's getting a lot of sun and they're making their own vitamin D in their body. So under the skin is 7-dehydrocholesterol, okay? And once the skin is exposed to UV light, we make cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D3, which is basically can be found in milk or sun-exposed skin. So if it's a fortified milk, you can get it by being added to the milk, or it's on the skin, formed under the skin. Now this cholecalciferol, which is the vitamin D3, has to go into the liver. When it gets to the liver has the enzyme known as 25-hydroxylase. And I want you to follow the numbers. It's going to add an hydroxyl group to this cholecalciferol. So this is it becomes an hydroxyl cholecalciferol, and the 25th carbon is being added. That the 25th carbon is where the hydroxyl group is. So it's got 25-hydroxy cholecalciferol. This is also known as calcitriol. Okay, calcitriol. Now, this 25 hydroxycalciferol is not going to go to the kidneys, wow, the liver, and then the kidneys. In the kidneys, there's an enzyme known as 1-alpha hydroxylase that's found inside the macrophages in the kidneys. This is not going to convert that to 1,25 dihydrocalciferol. And this is the active form of vitamin D. The 25 hydroxy vitamin D is stored in the liver as a stored form. When it's needed, it goes to the kidney, and now we have the active form of vitamin D. Hey, real quick, if you're watching this video and you are serious about passing your USMLE Step 1 or crushing your USMLE Step 2 CK Step 3, listen, I have a free USMLE masterclass for you. Listen, this is not for everyone, but if you're tired of scrolling through endless YouTube videos and reading through many textbooks and you don't understand your USMLE concepts, I've got a free USMLE masterclass. We are going to break down step by step exact strategy that I have personally used to be able to pass my USMLE and also match into residency. Inside this free USMLE Masterclass Bootcamp, I'm going to train you with USMLE study strategies that I'm not going to share on this channel, and also the exact strategy you can use to answer any USMLE questions. And I'm going to be giving a free workbook that comes with this USMLE Bootcamp, where we're going to be covering multiple different subjects and how I personally actually answer USMLE questions for free. All you simply have to do is grab a copy of the book right now by clicking the link below in this description below and be able to register for that free USMLE Bootcamp. It's 100% free. All I need to do right now is click the link below, get inside access to all my own personal study strategies that I've used to help thousands of students pass the USMLE. Click the link, grab that book, and also join the masterclass for free.
Hi, my name is Greg Adiele. I'm a third-year medical student at St. George's University School of Medicine. I went into prep with a certain goal in mind. I wanted to cover my first aid and go through it in systematic order, partnering it with Pathoma, utilizing Oncodex, and of course, UWorld. So as I started my prep, as we all do, I took my very first MBME, and when I saw the score report, I wasn't too concerned by it, but I knew that I had a lot of work to do and I was ready for the task at hand. So as the weeks go by, I'm really liking the progress I'm making throughout my first aid, my progress I'm making throughout my Oncodex, and the progress I'm making out through UWorld. However, that same progress wasn't really translating into my practice exams. I noticed that I wasn't really improving the way I wanted to improve. Exam after exam, the score report really wasn't in my favor in a sense. So mind you, this is all during the pandemic. So that stress of the pandemic, the stress of wanting to really perform well on my step, really took a toll on me. So I just decided to take some time off and really come back at this when my mind is clear and everything's on point. So I let the new year roll in and I'm ready. I decided, let's go back at it, let's tackle it, let's get the step, done and out the way. But I knew in the back of my mind that the basic knowledge that we learn through year one and how we incorporate all of that throughout year two was not the same. So I needed something to kind of give me that boost in a short amount of time. So I'm going through different programs, trying to find something that really grabs me, that can really help me. But then in all reality, they all kind of sound the same. They don't really differentiate themselves. So I'm going through YouTube, doing my thing, and I see an ad about Smash USMLE, and I see Dr. Adesina, and his enthusiasm through that video alone is different. It's something different. And so I decided, okay, let me do a little bit more research. Let me do a little bit more research about Smash USMLE, and I decided, let's just do it. Let's sign in. And I'm telling you right now, I do not regret this decision whatsoever. Dr. Adesina and the team over there at Smash USMLE provide you with everything you need and some. They provide you with their own Q bank. They provide you with multiple videos that are perfectly partnered with with First Aid. They give you their own tutoring services, and Dr. Adesina sends you words of encouragement. He boosts you up. He gives you that energy you need to keep fighting every single day to get through step one. And not only did those videos provide me with that basic knowledge I was seeking, it kept me encouraged, it kept me motivated, it kept me driving through each day, knowing that I can take care and do well on this exam. So if I were to go back to my old self, I would tell hey, my guy, go ahead, join up on Smash USMLE, get that basic knowledge down pat, because you cannot tackle that hard stuff without getting the basics down right. So would I recommend this to anybody? Of course. I would recommend this to my friends, family members, fellow students, anyone. So go ahead, sign up. You're not going to regret it. You're really going to enjoy that power, that energy, that enthusiasm that Dr. Edesina provides, and that knowledge that he provides. So go ahead and sign up. Thanks.
Now, the active form of vitamin D is 125 dihydrocholecalciferol. Now going to go to the osteoclast to cause mineralization of calcium out of the bone. But why does that happen? This usually happens when there's hypocalcemia. When the calcium level is low in the blood, okay? The body gets activated, or if the patient has hypoparathyroidism. So they activate, the body's like, wait a minute, we don't have enough calcium in the bloodstream. We need to make calcium. Where's calcium found? Calcium is found in the bones. So once there's low levels of calcium, vitamin D has to be activated, and once it's activated in the kidney, it goes to the bones until the osteoclast, I call them clasts because they cut the bone and release the calcium. So it causes the calcium to get back into the blood, increases the blood calcium level. Okay? Also, parathyroid hormone is also activated once the calcium level is low in the blood. It's automatic, okay? The parathyroid gland is found behind the thyroid gland, and once it's a sensor, it feels like, wait a minute, the calcium is low, it gets activated immediately, release parathyroid hormone, which now goes into the bloodstream, okay, and also activate the osteoclast to break down the bone to release calcium into the bloodstream. It also activates vitamin D because they are friends. It tells vitamin D, hey, we need you to go to the liver as a storage form to get activated to 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol and then cause more release of calcium from the bone. But it also tells vitamin D, allows vitamin D to go into the intestinal cells. When vitamin D lands in intestinal cells, it's an intracellular hormone. When it gets there, it gets to the nucleus, transcribe the proteins to make the receptors, the calcium channel receptors inside the intestine epithelium to reabsorb more calcium and more phosphate. However, inside the kidneys, the vitamin D is going to tell the kidneys to lose phosphate, okay? It's going to tell it, we don't need the phosphate. Actually, it tells the kidneys to reabsorb the phosphate back into the body. But on the other side, parathyroid hormone pushes the phosphate out of the kidneys. So let me reemphasize that point. Vitamin D is going to go to the kidneys and cause reabsorption of phosphate back into the body. But parathyroid hormone is going to push the phosphate out of the body, eventually to cause a balance in the phosphate level. But their ultimate goal is to stabilize and increase the level of calcium inside the blood. Now let's take a look at some clinical pearls that we need to know about vitamin D. What happens when a patient has vitamin D deficiency? Well, if a patient does not have any vitamin D, these patients are going to predispose to rickets. They're going to have weak bones. Well, this is known as rickets in children. And in adults, it's known as osteomalacia. Osteomalacia. Okay? Because remember, vitamin D's job is to reabsorb calcium in the gut and phosphate. And this calcium eventually is going to form bones, give us some nice strong bones, okay? The only reason that it also causes bone resorption is because when the calcium level is low, it causes the osteoclast to be activated to release the calcium back into the bloodstream. But initially, so as we are growing as our children, this bone, we need to form nice strong bones, and that's why they tell you vitamin D is good for strong bones and teeth, okay? So they develop rickets, which is basically weak bones, okay? These are bending bones. That's what rickets is. And if this happens in adults, they develop osteomalacia, which are soft bones. Also, if a patient has vitamin D deficiency, they develop hypocalcemic tetany. Hypocalcemic tetany. Why did they develop hypocalcemia? Let's take a look. We need that vitamin D to get activated. If we don't activate vitamin D at all, what happens? We shut down this entire pathway, and these patients cannot cause bone resorption, which means the bones cannot be broken down to release calcium into the blood, which means the patient is going to remain hypocalcemia. And this can cause tetany, which is like continuous muscle contraction. Okay? Also, patients can develop. Let's talk about another clinical pearl here. If a patient has liver failure, okay, which means inside the liver we have 25 hydroxylase. So if a patient has liver failure and you give them vitamin D3, okay, the vitamin D3, when it gets to the liver is dead. It's not working. For example, alcoholics that have liver cirrhosis cannot metabolize vitamin D3 into 25 hydroxycholecalciferol. See that? So that is very important. So you cannot give them an inactive form. You cannot give them D2. And also you can't give them D3 because once it gets into the liver, it's not going to be able to form an active metabolite that can go to be converted in the liver, inside the in the liver, and eventually goes to the kidneys. Now what also happens to patients that have renal failure? In patients that have renal failure, they're not going to have the enzyme 1-alpha hydroxylase to activate vitamin D. Okay, to form active vitamin D, which is the 125 dihydrocalciferol, so the kidney is not going to be working. This is usually in the proximal convoluted tubules of the kidneys. So if the enzyme is not functioning, this patient is going to develop secondary hyperparathyroidism. Okay, because what's going to happen is the kidney is not going to be working. Patients with renal failure are going to appear to have secondary hyperparathyroidism because of the renal osteodystrophy. They're going to increase their PTH levels, which is going to cause a lot of breakdown of bone, releasing more calcium into the bloodstream. And calcium goes all over and calcifies their tissues. And these patients are predisposed and cause renal osteodystrophy. What happens if a patient has vitamin D toxicity? In vitamin D toxicity, patients often develop hypercalcemia, which makes sense because the job of vitamin D is to cause bone resorption, right? It causes bone resorption. So if you have too much vitamin D, all the calcium inside the bone are going to be released, and patients are going to be developing hypercalcemia. Also becomes there's too much calcium in the blood, is going to eventually get filtered by the kidney, and these are going to form too much calcium in the urine, known as hypercalciuria. Okay, so there's one begets another. Okay, eventually they start forming stones in their urine. Okay, too much calcium in their urine. Also, this patient have loss of appetite. It's another toxic symptoms of vitamin D toxicity. Now, if a patient has sarcoidosis, okay, which is non-cascading granulomas inside their body, unfortunately, patients that have sarcoidosis they activate the 1-alpha hydroxylase that's found in the macrophages, that's found in the renal tubules. So if a patient has sarcoidosis, they're predisposed to vitamin D toxicity because this is the same enzyme that activates vitamin D. So they're going to constantly make more vitamin D active form, which is going to lead to vitamin D toxicities. Okay? So because the epithelioid macrophages in the kidneys are being activated, and they contain that 1-alpha hydroxylase enzyme. Now, another caveat you need to know is breast milk does not have vitamin D or vitamin K. That's why it's very important that patients drink milks to get their vitamin D3, which is called calciferol. Okay? So in summary, remember, drinking milk fortified with vitamin D is good for bones. And as you can see in our entire lecture, it's great because it's going to make more mineralization of the bone tissue. That brings us to the end of our lecture. Thank you for watching this lecture video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below about what you think about this lecture. And also, if you want to watch more lecture videos like this, click right here to watch more lecture videos like this. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You rock.